It's good to see you again. Good to be back in Pittsburgh. A bunch of us driving around last night were saying like, oh, we're back in Pittsburgh and just love it. So I know you might think it's because we're traveling, tomorrow to Columbus, Ohio, and then we're going to go off to Grand Haven and Grand Rapids and Holland, Michigan, and then Indiana at South Bend, and then Chicago and Madison and Minneapolis, that we're going to say those kind of sweet things to everybody. And we will, but not like we mean it when we say it to you all. We really do mean it. We are so excited to be here in Pittsburgh. And as Sister said, these issues really matter. And to tell you the truth, they don't matter to enough people. And part of our work, part of what we've decided to do with our organization, what people are doing and donating their time, is we just want to help more people care. Sometimes people don't care because they know and they choose not to care. And sometimes people don't care because they don't know. And so we want to help people know. So we did all that we could to draw attention to what's happening at the border. We feel like it's a part of the conversation of our immigration practices in the country, is our border practices. We decided that we were going to ride bicycles from San Diego, California, along the U.S.-Mexico border, all the way down to McAllen and Brownsville, Texas, and then across following the coast over to St. Augustine, Florida, so that we could tell a story of immigration that not only matters to California and Arizona and New Mexico and Texas, the states that are along the U.S.-Mexico border, but we also wanted to travel through Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi and Florida. And we wanted to tell the stories to the rest of the country, because immigration and our border practices, they're not only issues that matter to the people who live on the border, they're American issues. They're issues for us as a country. For those of us who hold faith, they're also important issues for our faith. So we wanted to ride our bicycles along that path. And you might say to yourself, why would you do such a thing? Why would you ride along the border in order to tell people this is important? Well, it's because when you say to people, do you know what's going on at the border? They tend to slip into one story or the other. They tend to slip into maybe a political story or a story of such deep pain that they know. But very often, their interest wanes. So we said, if we ride our bikes along the U.S.-Mexico border and we ride 3,156 miles from one coast to the other coast along the border and then along the ocean, maybe people will pay attention for just a little bit longer. And sometimes helping people pay attention just a little longer is a good thing. And then we said, let's make a documentary about it. Because as many great meetings like this as we will hold all over the country, we'll be traveling around the country doing this, we know that millions of people watch documentaries. In fact, how many of you have watched a documentary in the last month? It's crazy, isn't it? Like, we're all watching documentaries, and you learn things, and you're interested, and you talk to your friends about it, and you say, have you seen this thing? And they're never as interested as you are, so you talk for a few more sentences, and then it dwindles away. We know the power of documentaries. And so we wanted to make a documentary about what we saw. So you'll see Clayton here and Kim. They're part of the documentary film crew that are with us. We're still making the documentary. So here's the fun part. We're going to show you some pieces of the documentary. You're going to meet in person people that we met along the border. Adora Rodriguez, Mark Adams are with us today. As we travel along, more people are joining us. And we're going to show you portions of what we've already put together for the documentary. So you're going to see some of that. You're going to see footage. You're going to hear stories. And then you're going to also hear from people. And we're doing that for a couple of reasons here. One is we want to recruit you. We want you to feel like you're part of this documentary. So we're shooting documentary footage right now. And if you really don't want to be in a documentary, tell Clayton, tell Kim, and they'll make sure that you're not in there. But we want to include talking about these issues as we travel the country in the documentary. So it's a way, and this all has to be done by this fall, right? Because people need to hear about these issues as we start to approach issues of our national agenda with our elections. So we're going to show you some footage. We want to recruit you into feeling part of it. We want to include you in the documentary. And we also kind of want to recruit you on this ride with us. Now, we don't know if we're going to ride the border again, but we're talking about it. So maybe if enough people say, hey, if you rode along the U.S.-Mexico border on bicycles again, I would love to do it. Now, I don't want to ride on a bike, but I'll ride in a truck, or I'll ride in a car, or I'll ride in an RV. You'll see it. We take all kinds of people that ride along with us on this thing. So we want to recruit you on the ride. Maybe it's on the border, but we also want to take you on this ride with us around the country as you invite people. So our day is going to include 3 big components to it: live presentations. You're going to hear from Mark, you're going to hear from Dory, you're going to hear from Vanessa. And then you're going to watch some videos, and then we're also going to do some trivia. That's what the cards are about. So if you don't have a white card in your hand, you're going to get those in a minute. But we'll start with this portion of the documentary. And documentarians and filmmakers hate it when people do what I'm about to do, which is to say words about what you're going to see. But that right there is where the border wall runs into the ocean in San Diego, California, and Tijuana, Mexico, and that's where we started. So.
Well, I'd like to introduce you now to our preacher today, Doug Padgett. Doug is a national speaker, he's a writer, he's a pastor, he's got this wide imagination that you're going to have the opportunity to hear about today.
We are going to do this ride that Julio mentioned, where we're going to ride our bikes from San Diego across the country to St. Augustine, Florida. And we're going to do that along and as near to the U.S.-Mexico border as we can to bear witness to the experience of people. It's going to take us 67 days to do this. Our primary effort is to take the stories that we learn along the border and to tell them over time with people around the United States. Especially in places that we think the political opinion about the border could really have impact on who we are as a country and who represents us.
Republicans have made a deliberate effort to talk to religious voters, and we really believe many evangelical voters really do want to find a new option.
They killed her husband. They were threatened that if they were seen anywhere, that they would all be killed, including the young children. And they have nowhere to go.
So we're here on the border of Arizona and Mexico, and the way we choose in this country to manage this part of the border is to make this desert so deadly that if anyone crosses here, they're going to suffer in the desert.
Todos son muertos.
Todos. Sí.
We're 400 feet to a water tank and 800 feet to the road. Just didn't quite make it.
The systems that are created, they didn't just exist. Someone made them. And if we made them, we can change them. All right, so I will say it's a little emotional for some of us to watch this. Kim and Clayton, I don't know if you're feeling that. We're just starting these cuts and these edits. We've never shown them to anyone. You're some of the first people to see them, especially in person. So this is a journey we're going to be on. We're going to show you some other segments as we go. I also mentioned to you that we're going to do, just a couple little clips of the kind of things that we saw. These are some of the people that rode with us. I got to tell you, almost no one who went on this ride was like an elite biker. I had to buy a bike for the ride. We're not like super bikers. We didn't do this because we were into biking. We rode because we wanted to be close. We wanted to feel, we wanted to smell, we wanted to feel the same dependence on the air and the ground and the heat and the sun and the sand as the people that are experiencing their own movement across those places. So we tried to get ourselves close. So it's just regular people, so many checkpoints, mobile checkpoints. You're going to hear from Mark in a minute. So many experiences on and near that wall. We traveled with an RV and a truck and camped out and did these kinds of things. And so I did mention that we're going to do some trivia. All right, so here's one of our first trivia questions. Here's where your cards come in handy. You're going to take that white card. And if you'd like to make a guess on the trivia question, you're going to write your answer down on your card. And then if you get it right, you're going to hold your card up and wave it around, and all the people around the room will look at you. So here we go. Here's trivia question number 1. What % of Americans say that immigrants strengthen the country because of their hard work and talents, as opposed to being a burden on the country by taking jobs, housing, and healthcare? So what percentage of Americans say that immigrants strengthen our country? 24%, 48%, 66%, or 82%? So make your guess. Write it down on your little card there. You already do that, all of you? You got it down? All right. Show it to somebody so you don't, they don't let you cheat. All right. And the answer is 66%. How many got it right? Wave that around. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Let's make it 82%, huh? Let's do it, right? Let's not stop. And when people tell us everybody thinks that we should move the immigrants out, everybody thinks we should build a wall and put a door in it, you say to yourself, no, 66%, it's not enough, but it's better. But it's better. It's good news, isn't it? All right. Here's another little video. We're going to show you this, just a couple of minutes long. One of the things we're doing is we learned 3 lessons along the ride. One of the lessons was the border is not as dangerous as people are telling us. We heard it over and over. We asked this question to people all across the country, whether they were living in Mexico, whether they were living in the United States, whether they were right on the border, whether they were distant from it. We said to them, what do you know about living here on the border that you wish people in the rest of the country knew? To a person, we have a super cut of people saying it over and over and over, but to a person, they all said, it's not dangerous here like people are saying. Tell them to stop slandering us. Tell them to stop lying about us. It's not like that here. It was amazing. We kept hearing it. So lesson 1 was, people who live there don't feel that it's as dangerous as people who live elsewhere about the border. Lesson number 2 is, even though the border is not dangerous for the people living there, it's very dangerous for immigrants and for asylum seekers and for migrants. It's extremely dangerous. We're going to show you some footage of that. And the third, the people who are dealing with that danger are small nonprofits, do-gooders, religious leaders doing the best they can, and all the money that goes to our government, all the money that goes to Border Patrol, all the money, billions of dollars that go into the wall, almost none of it goes to care for those who are suffering. So it's not as dangerous to the people who live on the border. It's very dangerous for migrants, and the people solving that are people like Sister Janice and Dora and Mark, and these are the people that are solving that problem. So we have a burden being put on the American people by our federal government policies, and the federal government isn't paying its fair share. And we think it's time for the federal government to stop riding on the backs of small nonprofits to handle the problem that they're creating, if I could get an amen about that. So anyway, all right. So sorry for the preaching. We're already going to go long because I'm talking too long. All right, I'll stop in a minute here. This is a very interesting little spot. You'll see it and you'll notice, if you don't know yet where Mission, Texas is, it's really close to the border. You're going to see that. And when you notice the people that are here, all of these people live within 3 miles of what you're about to see. And we're riding our bikes, had no idea where we were, following a path to get into McAllen, Texas, and stumble onto a little honky-tonk, and that's what this is.
You're riding bike?
Bicycles, yeah, that's our bikes up there.
Oh, wow.
I think this is the border, guys. Right? Yeah. We are legally crossed it right now.
We started riding in San Diego.
Oh, wow, okay.
We're going into Reynosa, Mexico tomorrow. And
You're going into Reynosa,
yeah,
huh?
we work with people that do humanitarian work with migrants and asylum
so
seekers.
you've got people with you.
Yeah.
Because Reynosa's not a really good place. Now you can go in Progresso, you don't need anybody with you. But if you're going to go to Reynosa, you need people with you.
Yeah, we work.
I'm originally from Minnesota, but
Are
I
you?
just let them know those people
there as
over
a
there are
kid?
Minnesotans.
These two sitting
Yeah,
at the table?
they just bought the valley. They're from northern Minnesota.
People was just thinking about it when you came over. I'm looking around going, this is just like any other town in the States that you go to. You want to go have a beer, you go have a beer, there's great music. Yeah. This just happens to be right on the border. I mean, you can't get any closer to the border than there. And it's no different. I mean, yeah, there are issues.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, people just carry on, you know.
Yeah. So many people in Minnesota would be afraid to come to the border.
Absolutely.
Maybe you've heard it too. Have you heard people tell you that you should be afraid to come
Are
here?
you really going down the mission? Well, yeah. We've enjoyed it so far. Matter of fact, in 10 days, we bought a house here. So we're going to be here 7 months, and in northern Minnesota, 5 months.
And all this stuff about worry about the border, all the stuff you hear, that didn't cause you to wait?
No.
Like you decided to do it now?
No, yeah, time was right for us to sell.
I'm heartbroken every time. I mean, the river has been the life force of the Rio Grande, and it's been shared by both sides, and you negotiate the border. Then a wall comes up, and it just says something else. What do you think?
There's got to be a better way. I don't know what it is, I guess, or I may be gone before that's found.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
The people who voted for Donald Trump, every person I talked to in that room voted for Donald Trump. I asked a bunch of them. And then they also all said, and that wall is a really bad idea. Once you live close, the story starts to change. Now, I'm sure there's people who thought differently, but those people in that bar at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, by the way, that's 2 o'clock. We tried to go back for dinner. They close at 5 because they're all a bunch of retirees that live right there close to the border, and they drink from noon to 5, and then the place closes. It's really a trip, really quite a place. So that guy's saying there's just got to be a better way, and I might not see it. Like, let's hasten it so he sees a better way. We could speed this up a little bit, couldn't we, and help him to see a better way? All right, how about another trivia question here? Pull those cards out. What percentage of Americans say that immigrants are invading our country and are replacing our culture and ethnic backgrounds? So what percentage are saying that they're invading our country? 15%, 31%, 42%, or 57%? Now, some of you know the answer to the previous question. It's going to make you, cheat a little bit, but go ahead and write down an answer if you want, or hold it in your mind. Are you ready? And the answer is, we should get some sound effects for this, shouldn't we, Dan? Yeah, we should. The answer is 31%. Groups who agree with this most are white evangelical Protestants. I am an evangelical pastor from Minnesota, and I'm white. I don't know if that's obvious to you, but I am white, and I'm an evangelical pastor. We're going to do something about that number. Because that big number of 31% is made up of a lot of groups, and one of those are evangelicals. 57% Republicans, non-educated or non-college educated people, 44%, and ages 65 and over are 41%. Those who live in the southern border states are less likely to agree with this. Those who live closer disagree. Those who live further away are told a different story. We need to tell a different story. So that's what we're doing, and we're glad that you're a part of it. You're going to meet Dora Rodriguez here in a minute. She's going to stand right here, and she's going to talk to you, and your life is going to be changed for the better. I have become a huge admirer of Dora. We met her on the ride. We met her, and she told us her own story. She likely will share some of that with you. And then the documentary film crew went and saw the work that she does. So we're going to show a bit of what the work that she does. It'll be included in the documentary, and then you're going to have a chance to hear from Dora.
Solo métalo un ratito en el agua, ¿ok? Que Dios le bendiga, hijo.
Por lo menos vino aquí para que nosotros le demos una manita, oye. Lo siento mucho, de verdad.
6 días en el desierto.
Qué horrible, hijo, por Dios, qué horrible.
3 días estuve en la línea esperando a entrar. Y ahí la comida se estaba terminando, por eso se me agotó todo. Suero, Gatorade.
Lo
ya
siento.
el agua ya no.
Que vamos a dejar que se seque un poquito, ¿ok? Ay, perdón.
No, es que mis rodillas.
So he's hurting because he was with friends. But his 3 friends were able to walk with no problem. But he got his feet horrible. And I'll show you why, because the shoes that the smugglers give these people are horrible. This is how cheap they are. And every single pair of shoes that they get from the smugglers causes those blisters. So part of his story is very tragic, and it's very common that they get hurt and the group leave them behind because they want to go, they're going to do their journey, but the person who stay behind is when they risk their life to die. And this is what high school kids are doing, all the way in
Providence, Rhode Island.
Yes, beautiful. So I mean, I'm so thankful. And they write these beautiful notes, and they put $20 for them so they can have some money for their journey. ¿Usted la leyó, la notita que le hizo la niña? ¿La leyó? La notita. Una niñita de 14 años escribió eso.
Querido amigo, hola. Nombre es Katy. Soy estudiante en los Estados Unidos y tengo 14 años. Entiendo que tu vida.
Lo siento mucho. Muy linda. Que tu vida vale mucho, ¿verdad? Y la vida después puede incluir desafíos y luchas, dice. Encuentra salud y felicidad y éxito. Espero que tu viaje sea seguro. Por ayudar he incluido una donación para que en cualquiera de tus necesidades te deseo suerte. Con amor, Katy. Una niña de 14 años. Okay? This is beautiful. This is what these kids did. It's beautiful. Usted entró aquí por Sázabe, ¿verdad? ¿O entró por altar?
Por altar. Todos son muertos.
Todos. Todo lo que usted ve rojo son todos los muertos que hemos encontrado desde el año entre 1999 hasta ahora. Hemos encontrado 3.862 muertos en estos desiertos. ¿Sí?
Okay, gracias.
Dios me lo bendiga, hermano.
Igual.
Guatemala.
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 Él es mi hijo.
Oh.
Gracias por tu esfuerzo, Dora.
Thank you so much. It's the first time I see this, and it's very emotional. Thank you so much. My name is Dora Rodriguez, and I also went through that journey 42 years ago. I was telling Sister Janice I came very young, and time goes fast. I was only 19 when I fled the civil war from my country in El Salvador. But before I go on to the story,
I would like to take a minute, I would like you to join me for a minute of silence to honor our brothers and sisters who had died in the deserts, in the rivers, the mountains, trying to flee their country for a better life, and to honor the ones that are trying to cross, and to honor the people that now is dying in Ukraine, fighting for their country. And so please, let's take a minute to reflect. Thank you so much. You know, my story is the one of so many, too many. And I have been given the opportunity to be in this country and have my life and raise my 5 kids and go to school and become a social worker. And that's what I wanted to do in my country when I left at 19. Because if I would have stayed, I would have been a target for the death squads in El Salvador. Because I was young, and I was always a fighter. I think I was born that. But the funny thing is I was born in the Independence Day in El Salvador. So my mother said I was born screaming, which is okay. But I knew that if I would have stayed in my country, I wouldn't be here. So to make my story very short, is we crossed in the hot desert of 1980 in the area of Sonora, which is in Sonoita, close to the Oregon Pipe, a national park that is the most beautiful, beautiful scenario of the desert in Arizona. But it's the most dangerous if you don't know where you're going. And if you're not prepared to cross that desert, if you don't have water in the middle of July when the temperature reaches 117 degrees. So I was with a group of 26 Salvadorians, and in that group, it was 3 sisters, beautiful girls, full of life, wanted to meet with her mother in California, who the mother was saving money to reunite with them. So she trusts the smugglers to bring their girls, her girls. So there was 3 sisters, 12, 14, and 16. Then we also had pregnant women with us in our journey. So one night we got to the border. That's smugglers from El Salvador hired smugglers from the local area who said they knew the area. At that time, I was only 19, so I was also an adventurous, right? I wanted to know what the new world was. So they crossed us the night of June 30th of 1980. By July 6th, we were found because the smugglers left us behind. We ran out of water in the first night. 13 people died, and 13 of us survived. And the group that died was the sisters and the pregnant women. So I carry the story with me because it's a story of tragedy, but it's a story also of faith and bravery and strength, because each one of us came fleeing a war and knew that we're staying in our country, we probably wouldn't be alive also. But my mission is my story. And that's why I, every single day, try to be present and be there for these people, for my brother that you saw from Guatemala. And in when the last person who was at the White House started calling us names, see, my story was treasured in my heart. And for some reason, I have been involved in sanctuary, in groups helping our migrants and our brothers, but I never told my story because it was our story. But when that happened in 2019, I said, I have to talk. I have to say what I know. I have to say who I am, who we really are. And we are no rapists. We are no killers. So thank you. So I start speaking out. And I tell you, I am so thankful for that moment that I said, this is my time. You want to hear about Dora? You will hear about Dora. And I've been going every single place I give this space to say who we are. A woman who came here as a 19, went to school, learned English, just still learning English. My kids tease me with my accent. I say, hey, this is who I am. And you have to embrace it and love it. So to make, I don't know how long I have, but I want to share real quick how Casa Esperanza came alive. So in 2020, I visited the town of Sassafras, Sonora, which is an hour and a half west, Mark, from Tucson, Arizona. And we went to I was invited to participate in a vigil for the border wall that has been built. And they destroyed the mountains, and that we have the Tohono O'odham Nation in that area too, which has been hurt by this. So we went to do the vigil in the morning, and then someone said, Dora, you have to go visit the town of Sassafras, Sonora. And I went. And oh my gosh, we went, and talking about crisis, right? We hear all these political people saying we have a crisis at our border. I'll tell you, the crisis is in Mexico, not in the United States. So when I crossed, all I witnessed was buses and buses load up of people being deported back to Mexico. But we're talking about people from Central America, from El Salvador, Guatemala, indigenous from Guatemala, from Mexico also, Honduras. And I thought, what's going on? So one of the government office, the director of the government office that helps migrants, Grupos Beta is the name, he approached me, and I was surrounded with a lot of wonderful white people. I was the only brown, so he approached me. And they said, why they haven't talked to us? We come here all the time. I said, because I look like him. He says, who are you? What you guys are doing in here? And I said, well, we just delivering donations in the street because we had shoes, but we didn't know what happened. We just always have donation with us wherever we go. And he said, well, can you come to my office? And I thought, oh my gosh, we're in trouble in Mexico. But he said, no, we need help. And he said, there's 150 people who have been deported in our town, which is 250 people in that town, the local people. It's only a town that is nothing in there. It has no hospital. It has no shelters. It has no public transportation. So I told him, so where are these people going? He said, nowhere. And you have to think that the nearest town that has a shelter is about 45 minutes drive. But those 45 minutes are very, very, very dangerous because they're owned by the cartels. They are owned by the organized crime. So if you don't belong in that area, they know who you are. And if our people was deported in that area, but they paid another group in another area, they have to pay to go across. So their life is extremely dangerous. So we said, okay, what do you need? He said, well, I need water, at least a bottle of water. September was still very, very hot in Arizona. A bottle of water and whatever we can give. Most of our people that come to our area have been lost in the desert for at least 7 days with nothing. So we said, okay, we'll come back next week. We came to the States. We sent a massive email to our wonderful humanitarian organizations, and we are so blessed to have so many. And everybody responded, because we say we have a crisis, but not in this town like our mayor, no, not the mayor, but ¿cómo se dice? El otro, el alcalde.
Governor?
El governor, yes. Have a senior moment for a minute. The governor from Arizona keep asking for the National Guard. And I said, what are you going to do with the National Guard? Are they going to come and play games on their phones? Because there's nothing else to do. It's just ridiculous. So I said, well, maybe you have the wrong town. You might want to send them in Texas or something. But Arizona, we have no crisis in our borders in this side in Arizona. So the crisis is in Mexico. Our people is suffering. Our people is going to nowhere. Our people spending the night in the streets, in the porch, in the plaza, trying to figure out how to get to the next town. They come and they don't even know where are displaced, where are sent back. I don't know, but if many of you know about Title 42, it's criminal, it's against the law, and it served the purpose of really deteriorating our migrants. Because what happened is with Title 42 is the immediate expulsion of our people that is apprehended. So they're sending in massive numbers back to our border towns. And at that time, they were deporting people 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, women with children. So that robs them for the dual process right. At that moment, they chose their mouths to silence. And that's what I told my brothers and sisters. I hope I do justice to what you're seeking, because it is a big responsibility to be in front of you and say, this is what's going on in our borders. So Casa Esperanza started that September 17 of 2020 in the streets. And we were delivering for months in the streets donations. We were writing, I say we because I don't do this alone. It was 5 women power, that we would go every week to Costco. They got rich with us. And buy 700 bottles of water, 700 sandwiches, 700 fruit cups and bars, and make these little bags that we deliver every week to give to our people that was returned to Sasavit. And then the month of March of 2021, we figured out, oh my goodness, we need something. We need to create a sanctuary, a respite place for our people. We need to have a place where we can cure those feet, where they can have somebody that can ask them, are you okay? Because our border patrols, their job is very short. They apprehend, they take belts, they take shoelaces, they take their clothes. They're just allowed to wear 1 layer of clothing, even if it's extremely cold. And that's their job, and send them back, put them in bus. So in March 2020, we gathered with the community in Sasavit, Sonora, which they were very cautious with us, because you have to think this little small town is dominated by organized crime. So people doesn't really get involved in situations with migrants because it's their merchandise. So you don't touch that. It's horrible. So, but we got the community, and I got the local governments to sit down with Dora and other women, and I said, listen, we're just a bunch of regular people trying to help. We really don't have money, but we're gonna do it. Like you were saying with your story, sister, that they say, yeah, that's your ministry, but we can give you money, and that's okay, because God provides, and He has, So to make a long story short, we had different meetings, and by the time we got everybody organized, we got 4 volunteers from the town, a retired social worker that has been there since day one from the town, and says, I'm ready. I'm ready to help. And May 1st of 2020, we opened Casa Esperanza. And it was just, it's a miracle. It's just done with love, you know, done with a lot of a heart and humanity. And so many people come along and say, I want to help. Now we have a place for you all to come and visit. If someday you go, we have people, students now, they're coming from, my goodness, Kentucky, New York, Washington, everywhere. They all want to know where Casa Esperanza is. And it's a small place, but with lots and lots of beautiful heart and hope. And I tell everyone, you're not alone. We're here for you, my brother and my sister. We are with you in this journey. And we'll be for until I pass. I'm training my kids to continue because I want to pass the baton soon, but I probably have a couple more years to go. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Let's just take it.
Dora, thank you so much. My name is Dan, and I was one of the riders on the trip from Nogales to El Paso. And man, these videos, it's just bringing back, there's a really grumpy me. It had been raining a lot, and I was cold and grumpy, apparently. But man, these videos and Dora, it's just bringing back so many of the memories and emotions. One of the neat experiences I had was being a part of a communion service through the border wall. And so we had friends on the American side and the Mexican side, and we passed the elements between the bars of the border wall and shared communion, and just this beautiful moment and this beautiful reminder that the border doesn't just separate two countries, it actually divides families and divides the body of Christ. And so I got to sing this song at that communion service, and I'm going to share it with you. It's by a group called Common Hymnal, no relation to our group Common Good, but it's a great song. It's based on the Beatitudes of Jesus, and so if you pick up the chorus by the end, feel free to sing along, but otherwise just listen to these words and reflect. Blessed are the ones who do not bury all the broken pieces of their heart. And blessed are the tears of all the weary, pouring like a sky of falling stars. Blessed are the wounded ones in mourning, brave enough to show the Lord their scars. Blessed are the hurts that are not hidden, open to the healing touch of God. The kingdom is yours. Kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. Blessed are the ones who walk in kindness, even in the face of great abuse. And blessed are the deeds that go unnoticed, serving with unguarded gratitude. And blessed are the ones who fight for justice, longing for the coming day of peace. And Blessed is the soul that thirsts for righteousness, welcoming the last, the lost, the least. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. Blessed are the ones who suffer violence, who still have strength to love their enemies. And blessed is the faith of those who persevere. Though they fall, they'll never know defeat. Although they fall, they'll never know defeat. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Our hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. 'Cause the kingdom is yours. Thank you.
It's not fair to put me on after him. I'm Mark Adams, and I serve with a binational ministry called Frontera Cristo in Agua Prieta, Sonora, Douglas, Arizona. I'm not originally from those parts. I'm originally from Clover, South Carolina, and migrated 2,000 miles about 24 years ago for 3 years, and I haven't graduated from there yet. But my spouse migrated from 2,000 miles south on the Guatemala-Mexico border, and we encountered ourselves there on the border, and we formed our family there. And Doug asked me to share a little bit about what life on the border is like. And we were talking with our Congresswoman, Ann Kirkpatrick, with my family, and she was really great with our kids. She really wanted to engage with our kids. And we were there to kind of talk about policy and, tell what should be done and all this. But she really wanted to talk to the kids. And she asked my son, Nathan, who was 11 at the time, she says, so was it like living on the border? And he looked at her and he says, it's home. It's normal. Unless you're someone migrating. And he started talking about the folks who had come to seek asylum and were living in tents, waiting to be able to be petitioned for asylum. Now that's closed to folks. They can't even be petitioned for asylum. My spouse, who had migrated 2,000 miles from the south of Mexico, one time we were speaking to a group of folks in a church, and they asked us the question. She was standing right here. I'm standing there, and they asked, so what is it easy to cross the border? And we looked at each other, and I said, honey, why don't you take this? And she responded exactly like I would have responded. She goes, it depends. It depends if you're him or me. And then she could have said, and it also depends if you're me or her. Because she had status to come into the United States. She had different skin tones. She had different facial features, and it made a difference. But she also had citizenship, which makes a difference. One of the first experiences I remember when we had gotten married, I took her brother out. We went out for a picnic out west of Agua Prieta, and it was a sunset, and my daughter, who had adopted, was there, and it was just gorgeous. And there was the fence there, you know, the steel barrier that divided our nations, but the sun just set over creation. And it made that steel barrier seem small. And as we were out there, we're eating our picnic, and all these jackrabbits started just going crazy. I don't know what it's about sunset, but they were just going crazy. And they would go north, and they'd go through the little fence, and they'd come back, and they'd go north. And my nephew said, why can the jackrabbits cross and I can't? That stuck with me. People say, well, if folks would just come legally. Well, we have made a system that they can't come legally. And not only that, since the mid-90s, we've made a system that pushes folks further and further and further out into dangerous, dangerous places where the deaths of people and the suffering of people have increased. And not only that, the irony is, as we have spent billions of dollars on being inhospitable, billions and billions of dollars of being inhospitable since the mid-90s during the Clinton administration, implementing a prevention through deterrence where we would use deserts and mountains as lethal deterrents to migration. Well, in 1994, in my hometown of Clover, South Carolina, we had a pastor visiting us. That was the year Operation Gatekeeper was implemented, where we began this huge increase in border security. And there was a pastor from Mexico visiting in Clover, South Carolina. And the church that he was visiting was looking for someone to speak to him in Spanish. And they looked all through Clover, and they found 2 people in Clover who spoke Spanish, both non-native speakers. Fast forward to 2001, 7 years after we had implemented this prevention through deterrence policy. And I took my soon-to-be spouse to visit family in Clover, South Carolina for the first time. We show up, and do y'all know the Piggly Wiggly? So on the Piggly Wiggly in downtown Clover, South Carolina, there's a big banner that says, Tenemos Productos Hispanos, with a Mexican flag and a Guatemalan flag. At the bank, there was English or Spanish in the ATM. The Baptist church had signs saying English classes. In 1994, before we did this prevention through deterrence, there was no Spanish-speaking folks, native Spanish-speaking folks, and now no. That's a sign of the strength of people to go through tremendous odds to be able to get to somewhere that they can help provide for their families. You know, the folks who are coming across risking their lives are folks who make our country stronger. How many of us would do that? And the other sad piece is that as we have increased our border security, the amount of organized crime has increased on both sides of the border. One of my best friends in Douglas is a Border Patrol agent. He's just retired in October. And I remember early on when we were there, he said to me, I was visiting, and he came home, he said, I think that the guy next door to me is a coyote, a smuggler. So why do you think that? And he said, because every time I come home, he looks at me angrily, and he doesn't like me. And I just kind of flippantly said, well, then he's not a coyote, because you're the coyote's best friend. No, I'm not. I'm out to get the coyote. And I said, Rob, the coyote exists because you exist. And we have this bizarre symbiotic relationship between our border enforcement and smuggling. And as border enforcement has increased, the need for smuggling has increased. And as the smugglers have gotten more sophisticated, we have gotten more sophisticated with our border enforcement. And it's this never-ending cycle. One of my colleagues calls it the border industrial complex. Has it stopped people who are strong and persevere? Yes, it's killed thousands. It's made thousands suffer. But it's also strengthened cartels. There's a better way. 2006, we were visiting with Senator McCain. Senator McCain was an Arizona senator. He had worked with Senator Kennedy. And in 2006, there was a lot of hope for immigration reform. And so we were visiting him. And he raked us over the coals. He said, I'm getting killed. I'm getting calls all the time just blasting me for working for immigration reform. Where is your voice? Aren't you people of faith supposed to be for this? I don't hear your voice. 60-1, I'm getting calls. Where's our voice? Where's our voice? So as we leave forth from this place today, I'm sure that many of us have our voices with our congresspersons and our senators and our administration, wanting a more humane way on our border, wanting to make the border a place of encounter, of hope, of opportunity. But I want us to encourage us all of us, to encourage our friends and our neighbors who also believe in human dignity, to make our voice known. Not just to vote, but make our voice known in the offices of our congresspersons and our senators. That this has to stop, because we are killing people on our border, and we know it. We know it's going to happen. And yet we continue doing it. And we've got to say, not in our name, not anymore. Bless you for all the work that you do here, for the inspiration that you provide to your communities, to your churches. And as Dora said, Nuestra casa su casa. Anytime you want to come down and visit us on the border, you're welcome to come. Blessings.
A little trivia break for you. Since the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, you might all know that phrase, in 2003, since 2003, the federal government has spent how much on the agencies that carry out our immigration enforcement? How much have we spent as a nation on immigration enforcement since 2003? $700 million? $1 billion? $10 billion? $333 billion? Make your guess. How much do you think we've spent? $700 million? I mean, you know, people are saying we've got to secure the border first, and then we can have immigration reform. So how much have we spent? 700 million, 1 billion, 10 billion, 333 billion. Write your answers down. And the answer is 300, one hand, one card up in there, 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards. Thank you. I forgot to 5 cards up in there. You knew it. $333 billion. That's the kind of number you didn't even know how to type into your phone. You know why? Because I try to type it into my phone and I don't know how many zeros are in billions. $333 billion. We've spent a lot of money on border security. And you will have people say to you every single day, if we spend a little more, at some point we just have to tell the big spending Republicans they can't spend their way to prosperity. Thank you. That's my own political joke, and I'm glad one other person actually appreciated that humor. You heard from Mark. That's just a good one. I'm going to show you a couple of other. Well, let's do this trivia question. Hope you didn't see the answer so fast. Of all illegal immigrants who are allowed in the country each year, of all legal immigrants, what percentage can come from any one country? I didn't even know this question made sense. Here's the question. Only a certain percentage of legal immigrants can come from one country. You total up all the number of immigrants we allow in, and any country can only have what percentage of that number? 7%, 32%, 76%, or is there no limit? What number of new legal immigrant visas can come from any one country of the total amount? What's your answer, or hold it in your brain? And the answer is 7%. Roughly 47,000 new immigrant visas will be granted to any one country out of the 675,000 immigrant visas granted each year. There are 320 million people in the United States, and we grant 675,000 new immigrant visas a year. We don't have too many people coming in. We don't have enough people coming in. 47,000 can be issued to any one country. So when someone, as Mark put so eloquently, says, why don't they come legally? Because there is no legal way for them. That's what's going on. We're going to show you, sorry for yelling at you there. That is Alma Ruth. That is Maria. We're going to spend 3 minutes on their story. This is from the documentary.
Maria, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Gracias
por hacer esto.
Maria, will you tell us your name and where you're from?
Dinos tu nombre y de dónde eres.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es María. Yo vivo allá en Aldea Timactés, San Matías de Tambo, municipio de... Salí de mi país porque peligro para mí, peligro para mi hijo, y violencias, drogas, violaciones, no hay comidas, secuestradores para mis niños. Mi esposo hace años me dejó, se abandonó, él casó con otra mujer y se abandonó con mis hijos, por eso yo no quiero abandonar mis hijos, yo quiero mantener mis hijos.
¿Cuántos niños tienes?
2.
I have 2 children.
Un varón y una hembra.
One boy and one girl.
How old are they?
¿Cuántos años tiene?
Es mi hijo, trae 11 años.
One is 11.
Mi niña dejó 9 años.
And my girl that is back in Guatemala is 9 years old.
So why is your daughter back in Guatemala?
¿Por qué dejaste a tu niña en Guatemala?
Porque no hay dinero, ya no alcanza mi dinero cuando salí. Por ahora se perdió unos 34,000 quetzales. Porque cuando me traen mis 2 hijos, muchos dineros, sí es difícil. Me quedo triste. Cuando me dejó mi niña allá en Guatemala, estoy triste. Yo quiero luchar por mis niños. Yo no quiero perder mi vida, mis hijos. Allá no hay luz, no hay agua potable, no hay nada. Yo me trabajé día a día. Yo me salí como a las 6 de la mañana. Me llegó hasta las 4 de la tarde. Apenas me gané unos 30 quetzales. No hay dinero, no hay comida. Estoy triste. Ya va 11 años, quedó con mis hijos. Ay, estoy luchando por eso. Yo quiero luchar por mi vida, mis hijos. Yo no quiero.
I wanna keep fighting for the sake of my children.
Yo estoy miedo por aquí. No hay nadie me ayuda, pero gracias.
No, para servirte.
Sí.
When nobody was helping us, nobody looked at us. We are very thankful God sent us because everybody ignores us.
This is your son?
¿Es tu hijo?
Sí, es mi hijo.
Pascal, thank you for sharing this.
Gracias por ayudarnos.
Gracias. Thank you for helping us.
Gracias. Yo abrazaba a mi niño, rápido salgan allí porque ya varias gentes vamos a cruzar, digo. Y luego salí, bajo del cima de esos, iba corriendo con mi niño porque son un peligro también, ahí llegan los más feos también.
Nosotros solo, ellos dicen pues para los coyotes, dicen que cuando nos traen, dicen que nos dan comida, nos dan un autobús para llevarse, pero no era así.
To God of all breath, we ask for love and care and kindness and goodness to these sweet mothers, sons that we've met today. Changed policy for the United States, safety in that plaza, and to put it in the words of Jesus, may your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, because this is not that. So we will say an amen, but it is a paused and broken amen, because this work is unfinished. Amen.
August 3rd, 2019, I was shattered. And I feel like you know what that feels like after watching that video. It's interesting to hear Doris say that 2019 was the year that she needed to start speaking up. Yeah, it was August 3rd, 2019, and I was broken. I had all my kids in my minivan. I have 4 kids. 2 are in college, one's in high school, and one is 7. And we had been in Walmart shopping, doing back-to-school shopping. Most basic kind of thing you can do. And I held up my phone and said, come on, everybody, let's do a selfie. Because it's hard to get college kids all in one picture. And they were all complaining, and I made them do it anyway. And when I brought the phone down, there was a notice on my phone. It was a news alert that there had been another shooting. And as the details of that shooting became more clear, we found out that it was in a Walmart, just like we had been in. And it was families who were back to school shopping, just like we were doing. And that shooter had been so motivated by that current administration and his hatred and belief of the danger and the evil of brown people that he had driven 10 hours. And he had laid out his guns on the floor and in the name of that president and taken a photo. And he had gone into that store and he had looked through the faces of those people and saved his bullets, passing over white people so that he could shoot more brown people. And that image played in my mind over and over again. I could not stop imagining it, because if we had been in that store, that Walmart, just like the Walmart we had been in, that shooter would have passed over me and my husband and the 2 big kids and the little kid. And that shooter would have shot my Charlie, my adopted daughter, my Latina. And I went around for a month in a fog, wondering what had happened to my country, to the world. I took my son to college in New York City. And I went to see the Statue of Liberty because I'd always wanted to see it. Because many years ago, my great-grandmother, when she was 16 years old, left her country and came through Ellis Island, my Ukrainian grandmother. And I wanted to see what she had seen. I wanted to experience what she had experienced. Well, about a month after that shooting, Vote Common Good held a border experience for faith leaders. And I got on a plane and I went to El Paso because I needed to see with my own eyes. I needed to try to make some sense of what was happening. And while we were there, we went to that Walmart and we held a vigil. And I saw that long memorial that the people there had set up, and people were still coming. It was a month later, and people were still coming. And we went and we saw that border wall, and I thought about that rusty, ugly thing that we had spent so much money on. And I thought about Lady Liberty and the deep, amazing, ridiculous contrast of those two things. And then we went to a congressional hearing, and we heard from their leaders there, their congresswoman and the people that live there in El Paso. And I learned so much. And I went back that night and I was quiet in my room, and it was in the desert. There's a quietness in the desert. I don't know if you've been there. I grew up just up the road in Meadville, Pennsylvania. You know, so I don't know. The desert is hard to describe, but it is a holy, holy place. And I laid there in the dark and I wrestled with God, and I said, I'm nobody. I know I have to say something, but nobody's going to listen to me. I'm just like one lady. Nobody's going to care. My relatives in Meadville are not going to care what I say. What am I going to do? I'm not rich. I don't have some big following. What can I possibly do? Nobody's going to listen to me. And I heard God's voice, plain as day, say, "You haven't said anything yet." So I started talking. 2019, I started talking. And I started making, because I am a mosaic artist. I make things out of broken things. Our immigration system is broken. I know about broken things. So I started making. I had this idea for something to make, and I started doing it. And 2022 came around, and this guy, Doug, had this idea. He started coming up with an idea, and he said, we're going to go on this bike ride. And I'm an artist. I'm not an athlete. It's been a long time since I rode a bike. But you know what? I realized it's a way to help people see. It's kind of performance art, And so I decided to go. And I rode in Texas. Texas is really big, you guys. I rode 250 miles in Texas. And I went home and I took care of a few things, and I went back and I rode in Florida. I rode 250 miles in Florida. And I got to that ocean, and I got to dip my toes in the water and join in that celebration. But I was there because I was feeling a little broken. I don't know about y'all, but the last couple of years have been a little rough. Maybe you've lost somebody to COVID. Maybe you've lost somebody to politics. Maybe you've lost a friendship. Maybe you've lost a church. Maybe you've lost faith. Maybe you feel kind of alone. I was feeling that way. And I was afraid that I was never going to have that feeling of church again. But I got to tell you, the morning after our celebration of reaching the ocean, I had this opportunity to sit at a table with Dora and Alma Ruth that you saw, and another lady, Maria, who takes water out into the desert. And we were just four women sitting at a table, telling stories, talking about where we came from, how we got there. That was church. That was church. There was something so holy about that hour that we spent together, and our hearts just knit together, just like our hearts are kind of knit together this morning. That deep, deep connection. And what I heard from those women who work in this desert, every one of them had been betrayed. Every one of them had had their community bail on them and not back them up. Every one of them had experienced abuse. Every one of them had experienced loss. Every one of them had been shattered. And it brought to mind a story from the Bible. In a biblical story, I was reminded of a woman in the desert. 2 times this woman found herself in the desert. And she was a color that was different. She was looked down upon. She was from a country that was looked down upon. She was stuck in a system that was not for her. One time she found herself in the desert and she was pregnant, as vulnerable as can be. And another time she found herself in the desert with her child on the edge of death. And twice God came to that woman. Her name is Hagar. And God told her that he was there. And Hagar did something that nobody else has done. Nobody else in the biblical story. This woman on the bottom of the food chain, she names God. Normally God does the naming. Normally God does the saying, this is what you are and who you are. Hagar does the naming. And you know what Hagar named God? She named him the God who sees. It is my job as an artist to help you see, to see the transformation inside of me. It is my job to help you see what is possible. It's my job as an artist to show you what you don't know and what you could know and what you could see. I'm an artist. Doug's an artist. The filmmakers are artists. They help you see things that you wouldn't normally see. This morning I want to show you something that nobody has seen yet. This is called Rend and Remember. It's 7 panels, like 7 days. And it's also a map because it's made out of souvenir plates from the United States. And it's made out of Mother's Day plates. This piece will be in a museum in Washington, D.C. in the fall. But you get to see it first. This morning, I am just so grateful that you're here. I think you already know and care. I want you to know that a Protestant, rural kid who grew up not far away can grow and change and learn and see. And I want you to know you're not alone, and I want to take you with us. So help us share the story. Help us in our work, and thank you.
Well, friends, our time is coming to an end. We're just going to have some invitations for you, and Dan's going to bring us with a song, and then we're going to go. But I want to tell you about a few of the things we're up to and invite you into those. Some of those are in this room. Over on that TV monitor, there is a 27-minute version of the documentary, some of which you've seen today. So if you want to watch a little more, you can do it on that screen and see it. And start thinking about who you'd want to share it with. Maybe share it by telling people that we're traveling. We're going to be posting it online after next Sunday when this is finished, the tour is finished. We're going to be posting these videos online, and people can start to watch them. And we want to invite people to help us make a documentary. So maybe you want to watch that documentary and see bits and pieces of it over there. There's also a table here full of stuff. We want you to take some stuff home with you. We would love for you to wear a Love Beyond Borders shirt, or a Common Good Immigration and Border Practices shirt, or a little reel for the documentary, or a Vote Common Good shirt, or a Vote Like a Mother shirt. That's a fun one. We'd love you to wear something and take it with you. If you want to make a donation to the documentary and to the work we're doing, you can leave a donation there, and we can take credit cards and Venmo and cash and donuts and coffee and all that. Or if you just want to take something, then just take something. It's okay. We want you to take it with us. In the back there, you will see a line of photos. There's an organization that we're partnered with called Border Perspectives. They drove the U.S.-Mexico border and took pictures of the markers along the U.S.-Mexico border. There's always been us marking where the border is, but we don't always put a wall up to indicate where it is. And they've marked that, and so you can follow from Brownsville, Texas, all the way to San Diego, California, starting from the left side to the right. And then there's a little QR code on there. If you point your phone at that QR code, it will open up a web page when you click on it, and it will tell you more and show you videos. So if you want another way to engage along the border, we'd like you to do that. Dora and Mark are here. They want you to come down to Douglas, Arizona, and Agua Prieta, and to Sasabe, and to Tucson. So they want you to come. We want you to come. So meet them, follow up with them, travel with them along the way. We want you to come with us. If you've put your name on that card that you have there, the white card, we have one more trivia question for you here. But if you put your name and your email address and maybe your phone number, any information you want us to have, we're going to put you in our database, and we want to take you with us. We'll keep up with you. We're live streaming all of these events. So if you're thinking, boy, I kind of wish my friend had been here, or I wish my aunt had known about this, or I wish my daughter knew, we're live streaming these. This one we're recording right now, and we're going to post it this afternoon. It'll be live streaming on all of our places. Go to Vote Common Good website. It's going to be playing right there on the website, or on Facebook and on YouTube and all those places. And then tomorrow we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio. And then we are going off to West Michigan. We're going to be in Grand Haven and Grand Rapids and Holland. And then we're going to be in South Bend, Indiana. We're going to be just outside of Madison, Wisconsin. We're going to be in Minneapolis all by next Sunday. So we're tooling along. If you know people in any of these places, we want you to send them, send them a note and tell them to come and join us. So we'd love to have them come along. And we make this invitation truly at every one of our events, and we mean it. If you want to come with us, we're leaving after we get packed up today, and we're driving to Columbus, and we'd love to take you with us. Nick Brock, who's here with the beard and the hat, and that beard is real. He was our host a couple of years ago in Holland, Michigan. We said this, and he's like, hey, you guys serious? You think I can come with you? And next thing he knows, he's living for a month on a bus with us as we travel around the country. So we're not kidding. We want to take you with us, whether it's right now, you want to travel to Columbus, or meet up with us in West Michigan, or come over to Minneapolis. Feel free to do that. Or if you want to travel along with us and follow this journey with us and come on this ride, we'd love to have you do all of those things. So one more little bit of trivia. That was Vanessa you heard from. Look, I spoiled the thing. Detailed crime data from Texas show that the crime rate for undocumented immigrants is what percent compared to that of native-born Americans in Texas? What's the crime rate of undocumented immigrants in Texas compared to native-born Americans? Is it 45% lower? Is it the same? Is it 82% higher? Is it 166% higher? So go ahead and make your guess there before you put your name and email and phone number and all on it. And the answer is 45% lower. Hold that card up if you got that right. See, you know, that thing you know, other people need to know. You know, a lot of people don't know if it's the same. They might even think it's much higher. 45% lower. Sometimes there's just some basic truth telling you got to do as you travel around. So we want to do a little truth telling. We want to take you with us. We want you to share it. And then we want to know what you're up to. So here's the final invitation. If you're doing something great, I had a chance to talk to, is your name Bob? I had a chance to talk to Bob, and Bob works for Bethany Services, and they're going to be creating a foster home. I hope I'm not spilling the beans here. Creating a foster home for those who are new to this country and don't have another place to be. We want to know about those stories and share those stories and tell those stories. So will you stay in touch with us and tell us what you're doing and let us share that story and invite other people to know what you're up to, whether it's a big thing or a little thing. It's all these little stories that come together as broken pieces that come together into that mosaic. So we're so glad that you're with us today. Thanks for experimenting with us. This is our first one. We've never set all this stuff up yet. This is our first thing. We just got in here last night, so we're doing the best we can and figuring it out. We have a minute for a couple of questions if you have it, and then we're going to have a song and we're going to go. Yes? When is the bike ride? Well, we don't have another bike ride scheduled. We did our last bike ride. We started on September 6th and finished on November 14th. It took us 66 days to travel across the country. We are itching, maybe just the two of us, are itching to do it again. People keep asking, oh, are you doing that again? Is there any chance I could come along? Which tells us that there's something there. So we think at some point, I don't know, maybe people who live in the desert, and Dora and Mark will attest to this, every time someone who lives in Minnesota says, I don't know, should we come in the spring? Should we consider the summer? What if we do this in September? They're like, it is so hot. And it is true, it is so hot. So it probably won't be this spring or summer, but we are going to do it again in some way, whether we ride for a bit or ride for all of it. And again, you don't have to ride the whole way. I can get into details and all this stuff. But we'd love for you to know about it, and we're going to keep up on this work. Anybody else, any final questions or comments or anything you have for the good of the order? Okay, if you're able, would you stand up? This is kind of a bit of a dancer along or sing along and all that, and then it also sort of gets your blood moving. And thanks for spending 90 minutes with us. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. I hope what you heard today has broken your heart a little bit. Might make you angry, and you should be. But I hope you're inspired as well to do something about it. Dr. King said, no one is free until we're all free, and that's what this song is about. There's a world at war, caught in suffering, silent casualties. Oh God, grant us peace. In these sleepless nights, I can hardly breathe, despite brutality. I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. Chorus goes like this. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love does us to see. We'll all be free. If you want to join on that last all be free, every time we get to the chorus. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love there's us to see. We'll all be free, yeah. In these desperate times, love will hold us here. Love will join our hands, teach us to have no fear. So we lay our head down to wash their feet, and when we see our brother, oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see. We'll all be free. There you go. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. We'll be free, 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 free. We'll all be free. We'll be free, 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 free. We'll all be free. We'll be free, free. We'll all be free. Oh, we'll be free, free. We'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness.
All that love dares us to see, we'll all be free. One more time, let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see, we'll all be free. We'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Stick around, hang out with us.